Okay. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of High Input Games. My name is Nick, aka The Wild One, and joining me, as always, Chris Kodiak and DJ Mike. Today is November 6th, 2020. Before we get to the news, let's do a little housekeeping. If you'd like to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/high input games, where bronze level members can get the show ad free, and silver level members can get the show can get access to the post show where we can talk about things that we discussed in the show today with the rest of us. Before I get into everything else, I'd like to ask you guys, what have you been playing this week?
Ghost Runner, baby. That's all I got to say about that. Ghost Runner has been taking up a bit more of my time than I'd like to admit. I started out with the demo and dove in deep with the new game, and it has evolved into something that I wish my friends would play more often. So, because the challenge, I think, of the time trials is where it's at. But it's a game that I have found myself loving the hell out of. How about you, Mike?
You know what, man? I have also been doing just a little bit of gaming. I've been working a lot and a lot of late nights, but I, of course, have been going to my go-to game of Rocket League and playing a couple of rounds every night. I really enjoy it going. You better stop. You're going to alienate yourself.
Rocket League sucks.
Oh, man. Oh, there it goes.
Trash.
I've been really enjoying their go back to season one now that all of the everything's done by Epic, and the one Epic account ties you to every console, so it's really cool playing with a lot of friends. And then I also played a little bit of Ghost Runner, and I enjoyed that as well. It's fun.
Can you, while I'm just bringing up the set list for the show, can you guys tell everybody a little bit about how Ghost Runner, what it is, what it's about?
Go ahead, Chris.
About it for the first time.
So I first started the game playing it out as like it was like a progressional based game. Like we're just trying to get through the levels. Okay, so each level is maybe like now I'm getting through each level at maybe 2 or 3 minutes a time. I'm dying 1 to 3 times on a level. When I first played the game through, I died 46 times on the first level. It took me over 17 minutes to get through the first level. And now I thought, had I not gone back to that level, I would have thought, okay, that was cool. Now we're on to the next level and the next level. And it was falling a little short for me. And I decided to go back and treat it like a time trial game. And as most time trial games do, that's where it comes alive, where you're trying to perfect the routes. There's a lot of open routes on the game where, especially in the demo, you maybe get 1 or 2 on certain things, but when it opens up into maybe 4 or 5 different routes to get around on the main game when you buy the game, it really comes alive into a game that's something very special when you can.
Replayability is pretty high, you would say.
Replayability is the entire game, I would say. It's not just pretty high. It is, if you don't replay the game, you're playing the game wrong. If you're not replaying the levels over and over again, you haven't played the game yet. You're playing the game as if it's something like a linear progression game that once you beat the level, you're on to the next one. That's not what the game's about. The game's about perfecting the route.
It's about beating your time every time.
Every single time, and getting his best and getting it perfect is really the whole game.
And I'm actually really happy to hear you say that, because while I like the game, and it is a beautiful game, if you have the specs to run it, I highly recommend it just for the graphics are gorgeous, and it has ray tracing with DirectX 12, so you're getting all the goodies there. I actually have a hard time running it at 60 frames in 1440 on my 2070 Super, so I'll just say that.
It chugs.
But of course, in the demo, it is very linear, and so that I could see a lot of people having problems with these days when you have a lot of open world games that have a lot of decision making that are involved, and with a linear game like that. But the competitive aspect of it is what's really nice.
That's what I mean when I say I wish my friends played more of it, because like if you guys were playing it and we were competing on certain levels on look at how fast I did this level, and like that's what I want you guys to try and beat my time on some levels, and it's like that would make the game even better for me, but even just competing against myself, because I'm the only friend of mine that even has the game that is playing on the actual past the demo, it's something that I'd highly recommend buying for less than $25 or whatever it is, $23 right now. It's a gem.
The question I've been trying to ask, or not trying to ask, but the question that's been on my mind is it only available on Steam? Because I know both of you played it on Steam. Can you buy this on the Xbox right now? Is it available on console? Is it a console game, or is it just a Steam experience?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't even know how this thing works on
I didn't want to put either one of you on the spot, but I figured that someone would come to find out. But either way, it seems like an experience that needs to be played, and obviously it's really good. It does reminisce a little bit like Deathloop. I think it's got that same. It's almost like a stepping stone to what that game is, right? You're
Right.
telling it's a time trial game, and
What?
It's step
What?
one. You know what I mean? It's a step one to Deathloop. What?
Crack Research Team has just gotten back to us. It is available on Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Series S.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
sure.
Back to you guys.
That's really good to know that it's as widespread as that. And the correlation I was making to it being like Deathloop, the game that's coming out for PC and PS5 later next year, might be this year. I think it's later next year.
Next year.
Is that this doesn't have what we would consider a weighted story behind it. From what I can tell, I haven't played the actual game, and I think the game probably has a kick-ass story. So I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I just feel like it's another one of those style games. I feel like when we get to Deathloop, we're going to run through a facility, find a bad guy, and then rinse and repeat, have to do it again. And I think it falls into suit. If you like these type of games, you'll like that type of game, you know?
I would agree with you, because here's my problem is that, okay, so this game requires a bit of patience. It's kind of a frustrating game because you're constantly dying to figure out what you need to do next.
You got to find the perfect route.
So right. And so it can be frustrating if you don't like doing things over and over again.
Yeah.
If you find yourself, if you don't think that's for you, don't get the game. Although I don't think that typically I would find myself playing a game like that. I think it was pretty fun. Yeah. When you do start getting the hang of going through things very quickly, it's very fun.
It's not a button masher, right? And that's something I had to learn. I started out button mashing a little bit, panicking when it happened. And now it's like learning when the barrel of the gun of the bad guy would light up. That's when you hit shift, and you got to time your slowdown of the time to dodge out of the way. If you hit that too early, you're not going to be able to dodge out of the bullet in time. If you hit it too late, the bullet's going to hit you before you slow down.
There were layers of strategic levels.
100%.
Describing here, that it's not something you can blindly run through and get a good time.
It will stop you in your tracks the second you turn that game on if you're button mashing and not thinking strategically about this game. It's hard. It's not easy it's a hard game that once you get the track of it, you're like, oh, this makes sense and it's fun as shit. Like that's really how I stumbled upon. Yeah.
I have a question for you. So knowing that this game is out on the Series X and PlayStation 5, which are out next week, is this a game that you would recommend for people that get that console, either of those consoles?
Day one, yeah. For $25.
The fact that it's got ray tracing, I find interesting. So
yeah, for $25, I couldn't recommend this game any higher. I really couldn't. It's fun as hell. I've literally spent 20 hours on the game, and I've had it for a week and a half. You know, it's a great game. Great game.
That's really, really good to hear that there's a game that is so well priced and is also going to be available, you know, for the launch titles. Very interesting. Okay, well, speaking of next-gen consoles, let's get straight into the news today, where we are covering the review roundup for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and Series S. And I know that a lot of reviews have been flooding in this week, so we'll probably be taking slight excerpts from different articles. We're going to have a look at what IGN have said about the consoles, and we'll have a look at a bit of a review roundup as we go across the board. Also talking about things we liked about the console, things that we think are cool, things that we might think could be improved. I know that there's always little things that I know Mike and I have spoken about, hard drive size always being a huge issue in today's industry.
And especially right now. That's definitely a talking point.
We're looking at 125 to 150 gigabyte games, and there's only only confirmed space on the Xbox Series S to be having around 300-ish. Right? What did you have? Around 330?
Yeah, I think it's around 330, like 336 or some odd number like that.
And that's 3 games if you're lucky with the updates.
If you have COD, Modern Warfare, and Cold War.
It's 1 game.
That's it.
But what about this compression tech that the PS5 is bringing to the table? Are we talking about that at all? Is that something that's really a valuable aspect?
I would go along with the lines of something my good friend Mike once told me. show us that it works, because it's really easy to say we've got this compression technology and that we're running games at 120 and 4K. But as we have gotten closer and closer, and I'm not knocking these consoles, I think what they are doing for the industry is 10 out of 10 fantastic. But as we've gotten closer, it seemed that the promises that we were promised are starting to get a little bit blurred. Does that make sense?
We've found a lot of asterisks in places where there may not have been any, or maybe there were and we just weren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the one that sneaked up on us relatively recently, whether or not this is a news story later on in the news or not, is that the PlayStation 5 not being 1440p.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody saw that coming. They said that it's completely compatible with any current monitor, but if you only have a 1440p monitor, like myself and like Mike, you find yourself a little bit in the dark as far as how you would run your current gen consoles at that time, unless you have a 4K TV.
Sure.
And that's only natively, is what they said, right, Mike? So
there could be upscaling going on here.
There could be. They've said that there could be. Well, they've said there could be 1440p upscaling. So I mean,
take that as you
say.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if there's one thing that we've learned about the previous console generation is that, you know, we make big promises coming in, and the big promises are fine. I mean, they made huge promises over at Microsoft with xCloud, and I'm here to report. I know this is completely off record from what we were going to plan to talk about, but I'm here to report that I played The Witcher 3 on xCloud this week. I played Forza Horizon 7 on xCloud this week. Both times over Wi-Fi.
I played quite a bit of Nier, quite a bit of Nier, hours of Nier
on the cloud. Mm-hmm. And I would say the only time I wasn't in Wi-Fi, I chose to play a game that I thought could handle the lag from not having Wi-Fi. And I think this is this is another conversation altogether, like another category, but I believe they should start making games like Golf with Friends, more games like that, right, that allow you to not be rushed to make your decisions, so that when you don't have Wi-Fi, you can still get the line where it needs to be, line up the size of the shot, press the X button. Because I was in the car picking up my nephew in the car rider line, playing Golf with Friends with an Xbox controller and my phone mounted to the front of the dashboard.
Why didn't you hit us up, man? We'd have jumped on that with you, man. In a heartbeat.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting that those type of features are becoming available. So very, very interesting. But to circle back to the review roundups, I know right now IGN are reporting the PlayStation 5 at a 9, the Xbox Series X at an 8, and the Xbox Series S at a 7. And the reason they give the Xbox Series S a 7, we've talked about hard drive size, but there also are concerns going around that perhaps the Xbox Series S won't necessarily make it the full life cycle of these next-gen consoles. It's just perhaps the CPU is in line with the Xbox Series X. That is confirmed. They do run the exact same CPU. It's the GPU that they don't share. And I do believe that games are going to become even more graphically demanding as we move forward. And I don't know how a $300 console is going to keep up. I mean, they might be able to. We talked about this before the show, and I think it's a great conversation to pivot to, that the Xbox Series S could become a cloud box. Is that right? Like a stream machine?
Stream machine all day, man.
It could be something like that. But hold on a minute. So let's look at what we have now. What is the best of what the current gen looks like? Let's look at a game like God of War. Mm-hmm. So what if you get games that look 1.5 times as good as that? Are you going to be pleased with that current gen console if you can play the games that are going to come out at that kind of quality?
I agree. I
don't know that you could say that won't last. I mean, you could play games like that forever.
Well, can I just say something, that the development team that makes the game is really what matters most here, because you have games like God of War, you have games like Last of Us Part 2. All right, that if you compare those two games together, they're in a league of their own compared to games like, say, even Spider-Man. Spider-Man was glorious. It was one of my favorite games of the
Ooh, I don't
generation.
know. I wouldn't. I'd be careful because that's a very good looking game.
I'm using it.
Assassin's Creed. Use Assassin's Creed.
We can use
That's
Assassin's Creed. There's that, but
Assassin's Creed.
so
they're not God of War like we said before the show.
There's a reason I said Spider-Man. However, Assassin's Creed is like obviously light years different, so it matters on the developer, right? So I'm hoping, and in a lot of comparison videos I've watched where you compare Miles Morales versus Spider-Man, right, and where you compare Ratchet and Clank versus the new Ratchet and Clank, whatever it's called, Time Split or whatever, Dimensions in Time, Rift or something, and you can tell the difference in the next gen, so much so that I was not expecting, right? I almost forgot what Ratchet and Clank was prior to the next gen conversation.
Right. So if you're getting more than that in a $300 console, how do you feel?
I feel good. I feel like it's worth every fucking penny.
I feel like that can last.
I do. I think it's the what they're bringing to the table is not just the graphics, it's the processing power to bring more to the table with every frame. Every single frame has more in it. Every single animation has more to it. And although God of War was beautiful, Last of Us Part 2 was beautiful, that rests on the shoulders of the developer. They did more with a machine than most developers could have imagined. And the next gen console is going to open this up to more developers being able to work with this.
We're having this rather healthy debate right here, and I feel like I should also throw a little bit back. Verge.com saying, will the Xbox Series S hold back next gen gaming? Here's what to expect from Microsoft's tiny but new console. I'm just going to pull a little article here from The Verge. I think the article is by Tom Warren. If you want to read more, go over to TheVerge.com and check this article out. But Microsoft revealed that the Xbox S last week is aiming for more of a budget-friendly, around $300, 1440p resolution rather than 4K. The biggest difference between, and I'm paraphrasing here, the biggest difference between the larger Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, apart from size and design, is the GPU in size. The Series S simply has 4 teraflops of GPU performance compared to the 12.15 teraflops on the Xbox Series X. The smaller console also has far less RAM, 10 gigabytes instead of the glorified 16. That also runs at runs slower than a Series X. Other than that, the Series S runs pretty much the same as the Series X CPU, just at a slightly slower speed, and has half of a terabyte of SSD storage instead of 1 terabyte.
So as we know, a lot of these consoles are very CPU intensive too. So the fact that it leans heavily on that CPU isn't necessarily a bad thing. They're just not going to be able to push features like ray tracing. They're not going to be able to push things like, DLSS, whatever the equivalent are. I don't feel like this. I don't know if I could say that this console is not going to last. It's so much of an attractive price.
Mm-hmm.
Into what is arguably still next gen.
I probably could be eating my words. It just depends how quickly games.
Yeah.
Remember how quickly the PlayStation 4 Pro became relevant because the games needed to be run at 60 and 4K, and that was only possible on this 4.5 machine, 4.5. What happens when the PlayStation 5 comes out with the PlayStation 5 Pro? And what does that mean for the Xbox Series S?
I don't think that means
a fantastic argument, because you're going to get an Xbox Series X Pro that could potentially have 18 teraflops, close to the 21 teraflops from the 3080
card. It puts you out of the next gen
conversation entirely. It puts you then into, you're just a glorified PS4.
Yeah.
See, I don't think so. I don't think it. I guess so. But Chris, you don't have a PS4 Pro.
I don't have a
PS4 Pro, and I'm perfectly fine with the games that I get on the PS4.
My argument for that,
will be much further, right?
I know. I'm gonna say that it really depends. It depends significantly on the user, right? If you're going at this where and we're having a conversation about next gen compared to current gen. If you don't give a shit about graphics, you don't give a shit about frame rate, stick to your PS4, man. Like, there's not even a reason you need to upgrade anything, right? Like,
wait until they put it at the end of life.
Exactly. Wait until the games that are coming out aren't available for the PS4 , which isn't even going to be happening for 2 years.
PS4 3.5, 4 years after it came out, and I got like 40 games at GameStop pre-played for like
cheap as
Nothing.
hell. I mean, honestly, I think the Series S has a home for a lot of users for a very long time, for at least the next 2 to 3 years, I would say, before that becomes outdated. I really do. I think that's something that if
And
you're
then you
not
could potentially see an Xbox Series X being marked at a $300 price point,
right once
phasing
the
out the
once
Series
the
S,
Plus comes
bringing in
out.
an X Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, once a Plus
They're
comes out,
they're
yeah, I see that
they're.
happening.
I think what they bank on. I think what they bank on first of all is the subscription price. I don't think they care if they lose money on the Series S, but I think they're going to make. I bet they'll make. I bet they'll make a decent amount of money off the Series S because I think it's for people who are like, man, I want to get into next gen, but I don't know whether I want to spend $500 on a next gen console. So you know what? I could spend $300 on a next gen console.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what it's all about. And if they're happy
Right.
with it, you're right. That's exactly as you said. Maybe they'll look at the $500 one when they can afford it, you know.
Or when the Plus comes out, they can jump into a Series X for a price point that's $150 cheaper. You know, I mean, that's as much as we think Microsoft doesn't give a shit about people buying consoles, they're offering the Series S because they give a shit about people buying consoles, and I think that shows that's relevancy for them.
They just want to get
know?
more people to buy subscriptions, like Mike said. You
Sure.
offer a cheaper version at the console, then that's just more people going.
Sure, but
you
but
could
let's
buy
be
the
real.
streaming
No one's
stick.
going to pay for the subscription if they don't have the games that people want. I mean, that's just going to die like
But-
any other subscription. They're banking heavily on this. Hell, they probably bought Bethesda just to put those games on their streaming service.
That's 100% why they bought Bethesda.
And we know come November 12th that we can look forward to Uplay games being on Xbox Game Pass, whether that by an alternative button that you click when you enter Game Pass
And EA games.
Yeah, so we're gonna get all these EA titles.
Mhm.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. It's not EA Play.
I was about to say, like, hold on, is it Uplay or is it EA Play? Like, okay.
It's not Play. You might be right. It's EA Play. It's not Ubisoft. So we're gonna get EA Play, and we're gonna get a plethora of titles. We're gonna get Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5. We're gonna get all of the Need for Speed titles. We're gonna flood the genre.
That's awesome.
We're gonna get a little bit of Star Wars. We're gonna get a little bit of everything. Everything that you want. Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Everything that you can imagine is gonna be coming at you in gangbusters. So pretty interesting right there. Right, so let's get on to the second part of the news, just because we're already pretty much on topic. Should we buy these new consoles? Is this something that you would run out the door for if you're we should really take it from three positions. If you currently own a console, if you don't own a console, and if you own a PC. Let's go. Currently own a console.
So I'm in the currently own a console category, and my console is old. I have a PS4 OG day one not day one. I was about 3 months late to the game, but it is literally 3 months since PS4 came out. That's the PlayStation that's in my living room right now, still chugging at its best. I still have to say I don't think I'm going to buy a PS5 at day one. I'm more inclined to buy an Xbox Series S, not an X, but an S, only because I want to plug one of those up into my bedroom as an entertainment console, something that I can get 4K on my television and get availability to the xCloud while I'm laying in my bed.
4K from a Series S, but all right, you get that 1440.
You can't get 4K from a Series S. Oh, didn't know that. That's odd.
You get
What?
4K play. You get 4K playback, like 4K movies and stuff like
Netflix and whatnot. Yeah, because you get that on
Yeah,
PS4 Pro.
I'm fairly certain that you do.
It's available on the Pro and the X and the current gen Xbox. That's surprising that they wouldn't even put it on the S. But even if it's not, I don't know. I don't think they have honestly won the games and available at launch. I think I'm curious to see what happens with the consoles. And we're speaking from points of people who play PC on a regular basis.
Yes, they do push 4K resolution at 120 hertz.
Yeah, I mean that's a great device for your bedroom for $299. I mean that's something that you slap on your entertainment console for your bedroom television. And when I'm tired of playing on my PC, because literally the games I play on my PC come from the Xbox Game Pass.
If you're gonna play it, but if you're gonna use, don't buy it as your entertainment console.
It's not I'm talking about I'm done sitting at my chair and I want to go to bed. I go in my bedroom and I plug up my Xbox Series S and I turn on Xbox Game Pass.
game.
And I can play my game on my bedroom. Like, why wouldn't I do
100%.
that?
Don't buy a $300 machine to get 4K Netflix because you think this will be
My
awesome.
TV has 4K Netflix just hitting the Netflix button. You know, that's not a big deal. It's more about the availability for gaming on my bedroom for
right now
$300.
that the Netflix app on this has been proven. The Netflix app on a console or on an actual hardware versus the one you use on your TV is actually natively got better resolution.
Wait, on the TV or on the console has better resolution?
Console, the one that has something powering the whole thing behind
Really?
it.
That makes sense.
If you went to a Netflix browser on whatever, I've heard, at least from what Tim Getty said about a week ago on Kind of Funny, he was like, listen, not all Netflix are the same. Like the ones you get on the Xbox are natively in traditional, like proper 4K. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, I'm sure we can get into that on a.
I'd actually be curious to know more about that.
I am, because I use the Netflix browser on my
you got a
television
lot
in my
of
living
TVs.
room.
You got a lot of TVs out there that are running Android. You've got Samsung running their actual like in-house Tizen processors and operating system and stuff, specifically to run apps like that in native quality.
Because I gotta say, from my OG PlayStation compared to how my TV runs Netflix, there's no fucking competition. My TV blows the hell out of my PlayStation on quality on Netflix alone, if we're just talking comparison.
Well, now
apples.
your PS4 does not play any
right.
4K.
That's what I'm saying. The difference that my television provides compared to what this 1080 version, it's blows it out of the water. I don't know now that if it's upscaled or if it's native, I have no idea, but it looks fantastic. I'll give you that.
Now, I actually agree with you. I personally, my Xbox is pretty much my entertainment center. That is what I use. I love the fact that I can control it with Alexa and tell Alexa to turn it on. I love the feature set that comes along with the Xbox operating system. I love it. I love the fact. Now, I don't know that the new one can do this. I haven't actually read. Does it have any inputs like the current Xbox does to like plug your cable box in?
Damn.
Did they keep that?
I didn't know that was even a thing in the current Xbox. That's cool as hell.
Of course. Yeah.
They dropped that for the new console.
They dropped that. That actually kind of upsets me a little bit. But
why would they drop that? That's amazing.
People are getting rid of cable boxes, so it's
they were like running their cable box through.
But it's a great feature. The fact that I can tell my Xbox Alexa to turn my Xbox on, it turns my Xbox, my receiver, my TV, and my cable box on, and starts with my cable. And
hey, just to not interrupt you, but Ryan in the chat is saying that they did not remove that feature from the new Xbox.
Ooh.
Which makes sense, because that would be a ridiculous move to move. We need to.
Wait, so they are still running the cable?
Can we get our crack research team to figure out if this is a thing or not? Let's confirm who's correct.
I said you fucking find it.
Yeah.
Don't come back until you find it.
Quit talking back, Kevin, and do your fucking job.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll find out. What's the word, Kevin?
Listen, HDMI pass-through and one guide are gone, meaning you cannot use the Xbox Series S or X with your cable TV box. This means that if you plan to use it with your Series X as your main TV movie center, you'll have to rely on a streaming service instead of your own cable box. Thank you, Kevin.
Oh my God, Kevin, you're amazing. Ryan, you were wrong. God damn it, Ryan.
I would like to call that higher input.
Higher input. Yeah, higher input. Thank you, Kevin. Ryan.
Kevin, you're a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah.
Get back.
Yeah.
And a lot of
back in the cage.
A lot of people are happy with that because they just thought it was just too much.
That's ridiculous. No one's happy with that. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's no one that's
I
happy
loved
with
that feature.
Everyone loves that feature. That's absurd.
I absolutely love that feature.
On their remote and they switch to their cable.
No,
everyone does that.
No, that removes the whole purpose of it being an entertainment center.
Correct. Honestly, I go to my.
It's a gaming utensil.
No, man. No, that's a bad choice.
It's not the Xbox Series X gaming sensor.
Where Microsoft wins, though. This is where Microsoft wins, though, because personally, I think Sony's.
No, Microsoft basically dropped it this time because they didn't.
I know, but I'm saying this is where I think Sony kind of misses the mark. I don't feel like Sony is now. I don't know what the new operating system looks like, obviously, but I haven't looked. But
they haven't released it.
I think the PS4 system is not intuitive for being an entertainment console.
Agreed.
As far as movies and TV shows, I just don't think that. I just think it falls flat. My Xbox is so much more enjoyable to go through and try and look for different things I want to watch.
This is the PlayStation starting up right here.
I can't hear anything.
Whatever. I'm telling you right now that it's out there right now. If you want to find the PlayStation starting up, it's out there. You can find it on Google. Everybody check it out.
So I agree. I think and before the show, Chris's brother asked him if he thought he should buy a Quest 2 or an Xbox Series X on release day. I personally said the Quest 2 because the Quest 2 has a giant library of games that everybody knows are good and fun, and it is a console in and of itself where you can travel anywhere and use it without having anything else. And for a guy that likes to kind of move around a lot, I think he would enjoy it. I think that if you wait a couple of months, you're going to get a lot of exclusive games that you're missing out on right now, and you'll be happier. And the console will still be there, and they'll have worked out any bugs and come out with a lot of updates. All of these new consoles are built basically like computers. I guarantee you we're going to have a plethora of updates for these consoles for the first 6 months.
100%.
I just think they're going to just be improving and improving and improving. It's just the way that it is now. So I don't think there's anything wrong with waiting. I don't think you're going to miss anything.
I mean, I do agree with you, man. I just wish that I want to say I want a PS5 day one. There's a lot of me that wants to say that, right? But I can't. Nick has made a very solid argument with me about what game are you going to buy? When you bring that PS5 home day one, what game are you plugging on it?
You're spending $500 or $400 to play Spider-Man. When you can play the Miles Morales.
You're 100% right. Am I gonna go out? I have a PS4, an Xbox One, and a PC and a Switch. Am I gonna if a game comes out that's on the PC, I'm obviously gonna get it for the PC as opposed to any one of those.
Right.
And if a game comes out that's an Xbox exclusive, more than likely in the next 6 months it'll be on the Xbox One. What do I need it for?
Yeah, no,
or the PS4.
That's not.
All right, we've covered the base on whether or not you would buy it if you own a console. I think the answer if you own a PC is probably no too, based on the fact that if you have a 20 card or a 10 series card, you're still getting fantastic frame rates at 1080p and fantastic frame rates at 1440p. So I wouldn't really say that unless you are seriously considering playing Miles Morales as an exclusive, and you don't have access to a PlayStation 4, which I'm sure they're going to be.
Does that sound ridiculous to anybody else? That's how you have to say it? That we don't have any more exclusives than that?
Well, there is.
What did you say? Horizon?
No, isn't that Souls game coming out as a launch title? Demon Souls 2, 3?
Yes. Is that a draw? Is anybody buying?
Oh, that's a pretty good draw. That's a pretty good draw to people that like Demon Souls. Yeah.
Hey, Ryan has a question. He says, so if a game comes out and you can't get it on PC, what console would you get it for? So we're not talking exclusives. We're saying any game. You don't have a PC available.
X, hands down, no problem. Xbox Series X, the more powerful machine, and it just if you had the choice and it was Assassin's Creed, why would you play on a PS5 when you know that your Xbox Series X will actually run it better? So I would 100% say.
So can I give a little bit of a devil's advocate to this statement and say that yes, I agree. It plays it better, right? However, if you were to buy the PS5, it will also play your Assassin's Creed, and it may play it, let's call it marginally worse. And marginally is a overstatement because it's going to play it at a marginal worse that you'll never notice, right? You'll never, ever notice the difference between your PS5
You're going to say, so now you have access to
correct
this game and this game.
Correct.
There's God of War 2, and you can play this. Wait,
right.
We're not talking about whatever Initiative Studios, who are owned by Xbox, have up their sleeve. We're not talking about Bethesda.
We can't talk about hypotheticals. We can't talk about.
We can talk about the Elder Scrolls 6. We can say
they haven't dropped any information about Elder Scrolls 6 whatsoever.
They're almost in the same ballpark as not needing to drop information on Grand Theft Auto 6. We're talking about Skyrim being one of the biggest selling games of the past 10 years. They released it on the PS3, the PS4, the Wii, the Switch.
And we already know that they're doing a current giant reworking of their engine right now, so it's coming. But
that you can't even discuss having a PlayStation exclusive anymore without saying, what about Fallout? Is that going to be an Xbox exclusive? Because if you're talking about things we don't know, that's something we really don't know. Are Bethesda games going to become exclusive? And if they are, that's huge news for anybody who is like, oh, well, God of War was fun, but like, shit.
Ryan just said he knows 4 people buying an Xbox for Fallout alone. You know, I mean, just for the idea that Fallout could be coming as an Xbox exclusive, fuck it, it's worth buying the Xbox because not missing Fallout 5, period.
I think that's fair. And as Nick said, it's specs-wise, it is currently the superior console. Now, we know that PlayStation's doing a lot more, their own compression, and they may win in some of that. So,
also, one word. It's kind of 2, but they made it 1. Game Pass. Game Pass is the reason why you
compete with that.
Yeah, you all have it offering, and you go, oh, I really want to spend $70 on all these exclusives when they're over here. I can personally say, when I thought Game Pass was a gimmick, I owned Game Pass, and I owned a Series X, and I owned a PS4, and I purposely bought games that were on Game Pass on the PS4 because I was a PS4 guy.
Me too.
So I would buy the Outer Worlds on the PS4, even though it was free on Game Pass. I would buy the Outer Wilds on PS4, even though it was free on Game Pass. And eventually I was like, this doesn't matter. Xbox built up such a good ecosystem that I thought, I was just scared. You know what I mean? You've gone to South Lake for so long, or you've gone to a certain school, and then you go to another school, and you're like, oh, I don't like the vibe of this school. And you've been there long enough and realize, oh, shit, it's kind of the same as the other school.
People are cool here too, man. People are cool here too.
I got an interesting question for you guys. Do you think that Halo will be available day 1 to Xbox Game Pass subscribers?
No way. Oh, to Xbox Game Pass. Oh, I would go with yes. I'd go if they're going for the sub model, if they're all about the subscription, that'll be the tell.
They'll have the subs by then, right? You don't want to lose the of that game.
I would say that's the tell. I would bet any Microsoft made game will be available on there. Flight Sim, was there a bigger release of a game by Microsoft this year than Flight Sim, and they gave it to everybody on Game Pass?
I think that sold a lot of people on Game Pass. I think
that's what Mike's saying. So you give Halo, how many people that's selling on Game Pass?
How much do you think it costs for them to develop that game?
What if you're already reaching your target audience by that time?
You're talking how many access to millions more, dude?
Yeah, that's my point. So your subscription cost is already paying for these games.
The console's going to sell out like gangbusters, and they're going to have at some point. The discussion is when they get enough subs. They can't always be Mr. I'm super fucking consumer friendly.
It's not consumer friendly, Nick. It's $60 for the game. Or they get Halo out and 10 million people go, fuck it, I'm not going to spend 60, I'll spend 10 and get Game Pass.
We've had this discussion before. Developers like Bungie are going to start, and that aren't Microsoft owned anymore, are going to start either asking for more money to put their games on Game Pass because Game Pass is going to be so successful that they are losing money by not putting it out on disc. So the discussion is going to be pay these developers more to put their games on Game Pass. And if you don't, then Game Pass becomes less of a viable thing. I think at a certain point when you have enough subs on your ecosystem playing games like Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, blah, 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 you can't then say, oh, hey, coming out day and date for free if you're not going to pay Bungie a huge amount of money to not, because I mean, by putting it on day and date, they lose all their money on disc. No one's going to buy it on disc. It's like Forza now; it's available on the Xbox Game Pass. No one buys that on disc. And my question is, what studio in their right mind is going to do that?
Do you think Forza doesn't make money?
Forza's owned by Microsoft.
So is Bungie.
Not anymore. They separated. They're not.
They're not Microsoft owned?
Microsoft has tried to buy them back ever since they created Destiny 2, and they're like, no, we're good.
It says they're a parent organization.
Let's have a look. Because it says Xbox tried to buy back Bungie like a month ago, I thought.
Maybe they didn't.
Ryan says Halo and Demon Souls on Game Pass will win so many people. And I gotta tend to agree with him.
I have to agree.
I think putting that shit day and date would You're talking tens of millions of people will jump on Game Pass.
Rumor has it that Microsoft tried to buy Bungie and Destiny again, but Bungie squashes the rumor. It says it didn't
Yeah,
make.
you know what? I want to say Microsoft does give them money for the Halo franchise, though.
Yeah, Microsoft reportedly tried to buy Bungie. But no, it says right here. This is from an article from Forbes.com saying that Microsoft reportedly tried to buy Bungie and Destiny 2, but it cost them too much. And this is an article that was written.
That they bought Bethesda for, what was it?
Like I'm reading.
I bet it was more.
Yeah, it says acquisition talks are always happening all the time for all kinds of stuff. So I wouldn't take this as more than business as usual. But you would imagine that once Bungie created a successful games of service, that they would started to make a lot of money.
I have to imagine Microsoft's got to be paying something for these games to be on there. I mean, we've never really researched that, but
they definitely do. I think that I remember it being something along the lines of like 60% or 80%, and then 10 for someone else. We'll bring those numbers to you guys in a second, but I do recall that as the platform grows, the developers are going to want more. It's not like you're just going to get someone give their game over for what they gave it away from when your subscriber base was 1 million. If your subscriber base is now 10 million and 10 million people are going to play our game, we deserve more money. And I think that we're going to run into this situation. I don't think Microsoft are going to run out of money. I just think, are they willing to pay out the nose for games to be day and date to build subscriptions? And I hope the answer to that is yes, because I really do want to play Halo on Game Pass. I've enjoyed playing the Gears franchise on Game Pass. Again, Gears owned by Microsoft, so it makes sense that they're going to throw those games up there exclusively.
That was day one. I think that was.
But like Nick said, that's owned by Microsoft, so of course.
Another acquisition that we never talk about is that Microsoft bought Obsidian Games when they were making Outer Worlds, and Outer Worlds 2 is all but been confirmed to be an exclusive to the
That's awesome.
Xbox, which is just another, IP that last year was laughable. Right? People were like, you're playing the Outer Worlds? Isn't that like a knockoff Fallout? And then I finished it. Chris is playing it right now. He's enjoying it.
I love the hell out of it. I'm blown away by how good it is because I thought it was going to suck. I'm shocked.
I want...
sequel will be.
Yeah.
I want new games. I really want new games. I'm not denying the fact that sequel games are good. I just want something new and original on these consoles. I know we have them.
That Godfall game, and it's not looking too strong. Like I said to Chris,
Phoenix,
you won't see a game. Phoenix Rising is again. It's a lot of these games. I've said this to you on the phone the other day. We won't see a true next gen game for about 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. That's when you'll start to see around April 2020.
Well, or what was it? December, sometime around mid-December, we'll see a next gen game.
Where, in this year?
Cyberpunk, yeah.
Well, that's
not next gen. They're playing it on the PS4.
No, it really is. Cyberpunk said this. CD Projekt Red said that halfway through development of the game, we knew it morphed into a next gen game, and they've openly said that we didn't want the PS5, Xbox, and PC versions to be just higher resolutions or higher rendered. We wanted them to be actually viable next gen games. And I think that Mike's right. I did forget about that one, strangely. I think Cyberpunk will be the first true next gen game that you will see viable differences between how they run on a PS4 and how they run on a PS5. We're going to see a lot of videos coming out in a month or so that show remember, it's a month away, boys. Like, it's literally December 10th. It's like, I know we're supposed to be playing it very soon, in like a week or so. That's why I said the delay wasn't that harsh. It was like a 3-week delay. But December 10th is going to come around soon.
It is kind of harsh.
We're going to get that week off. It's not harsh if they give us a game that is fantastic. I mean, 3 weeks is nothing. Even if it gives the swordplay an increased, I don't know, audio by 10%. Would you have wanted it 17 days ago for it to be slightly rushed? Like, nope.
I feel like it could have been a patch. I'm curious what really are we buying here with this delay? And it must have been something substantial. I don't think they would have delayed it because they already put the crunch down on them.
It's bugs. They're fixing, because remember with The Witcher,
game breaking shit.
Yeah, you would open a chest early in the game, read a note that you weren't supposed to read, get a quest that told you to go get the note that you'd already read, and you couldn't read it because you'd already read it. So it was like, read the note. And it was like, you'd click on the note and it'd be like, you've read this already.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
this is not cool. So that happens many times in a large open world RPG. And I'm sure there's going to be bugs that they haven't even seen coming. That they need to be dealing with, and you forget that right now a lot of Q&A testing is going on because Ryan McCaffrey from Xbox or from IGN, who is the like the editor, he said that when he was playing a next gen game recently, the only people running around online were Q&A testers. He was like, "Oh, I can see what's going on here," and it's like, yeah, that's probably what the Cyberpunk's got going on right now. A bunch of people playing it and going, "Hey, you know a gun spawns on you after you finish this mission if you're wearing this outfit?" And they're like, nah. And they're like, yeah, and you know you can't talk to this guy when you're wearing these shoes? Are you serious? And they gotta go in and fix that. And I've
I
read
can't
so
believe what they got to do to make these fucking games work, man. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's a work of magic.
when you do play a game that doesn't have those glitches figured out, you go on Reddit and you're like, you read page after page of people saying like, I'm stuck on a ship and I can't get off. What did I do wrong? And then like 6 months later, you'll see the post that says like, okay, I've got it figured out. If you started the game and you went to the options menu and you put it on 1440 before you put it on full screen, you corrupted your whole game. From there on out, you'll never get off the ship. You need to reboot, do this, do that, and don't touch those settings until you get off the ship. And you're like, what is this nonsense? And
It's
that
coding,
is
baby. That's all it is. It's all about the code.
what happens when you rush games. And so for me, I've talked about it on the last episode. Releasing a game on December 10th that potentially we all have the week off to play is so amazing. Like I get to ask you guys, like, hey guys, what are you playing over Christmas break? Cyberpunk, and I'm diving in. My wife's been doing this. She's shopping. I've got 2 days to just get stuck in or whatever. It's just that type of.
Quite honestly, looping back to our last conversation, it's why I want to upgrade my console prior to Cyberpunk. Because my PC, I'm very concerned about its ability to chug Cyberpunk. It's not going to be able to do it. I don't really want to play on my
Your
PS4.
PC.
I know, man, but we're talking like $800. I could do it for $400, $900.
You could do it for $500.
And let's quickly talk about availability. I know that Walmart said that the PlayStations will be available November 12th, midnight. Same with the Xbox Series
In
X.
store.
Only Xbox Series X's will be in store this side of Christmas. PlayStations will not be in any brick and mortar stores. I found that on IGN.com. You will be able to find Xboxes at Target. You will be able to find Xboxes not at Best Buy. Best Buy have still said they're not doing any brick and mortar sales this side of Christmas either.
What the hell? What's that about? Why are they? What's going on there? Why?
Assuming it's got something to do with the pandemic, probably.
Too many people.
A supply issue, or you think it's the people?
Imagine, my brother said to me, imagine a line with 100 people in it and everyone's spaced apart 6 feet.
Nick, I just went to an event just now that had probably 2,000 people at it.
I'm not talking about how bad it is to have the people there. Imagine how ridiculous the line looks as it's standing in front of other shop business windows and it's wrapping around the parking lot because 200 people that used to take up the front of a Best Buy is now like all the way down. You're talking about 6 feet between every couple. That line is going to be massive. You know what I mean? Controlling people that far away from your store, it's difficult. And so I think also it's got a lot to do with supply. How do we get, with limited workers working and people having to wear all these precautions? I'm sure there's less people working and obviously shipping problems. So I think that you're probably looking at your best. They said that you can pick them up in stores if you bought them online. So I don't think they want the rush of people down at the stores, all just, that Black Friday mess, which we're going to have anyway.
They're just going to say, you think they're not going to do Black Friday? I mean, that's
happening. Black Friday is the end, right, of November, right?
Yeah,
so
the day after Thanksgiving.
It's almost like they're trying to get this as calm as possible. But anyway, let's move on to story 3 before we bore you guys all night with our talking. Headline 3, Call of Duty Black Ops, Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Warzone will share progression, weapons, and more. that's really good for everybody who's upgraded all their weapons. I know my son is a huge fan of Call of Duty, and he would be heartbroken if he knew that his MP5 that he has with the gold skin wasn't able to be played on another game. And I also think it's a real ask of somebody to say, hey, we know you've just spent the last 7 months leveling up all your gear, but come do it all over again on all these new maps. It's like,
Yeah,
dude,
but Nick, it's not new maps. This is a new game. That's like my skin on The Witcher is now available on Skyrim 2, right? Like this is not
things are
a new
starting
map.
to Call of Duty is starting to blend now as Warzone has become the predominant market. So any
No,
feature
that's not a blend.
Yeah.
That's literally just Warzone's mentality. Black Ops has now gone and been like, hey, let's just share this fucking concept, and we're all
Yeah, so you know what? Let me tell you what we're sharing.
They're all owned by Activision. So this is not something that Treyarch gets to decide or that Sledgehammer gets
they're just they're just their own.
They're all under one umbrella. And if Activision says, I want you guys to work on Modern Warfare together, they work on Modern Warfare together. It's not, they are the developers of what Activision tell them to do. And so when they tell them, we want your game to function with Modern Warfare or to function with Warzone, because they know that making another Warzone, as popular as Warzone is right now, is very, very difficult. That's why you haven't seen a Fortnite 2. That's why you haven't seen a PUBG 2. That's why you haven't seen an Apex 2. They realize that a new map is far better than a new game. A new game almost separates the market where people were like, one's better.
It's also a really good opportunity to fuck up something that already works very well.
I agree, but I think by giving people weapons to use in their online profiles with new maps isn't stopping them from enjoying the game. They're just getting to use their armor and their skin that they've achieved on Call of Duty. They're gonna, as long as they buy the new game, like Chris said, it's dollars and cents. They don't give a shit if you're upgrading your games on their servers or if you're bringing your shit with you. As long as you buy the game, that's all that matters. I can't imagine someone's like, they're giving me all my stuff from my old game. Not buying that. They're going to be more inclined to buy it now, and that's all that the games companies care about is let's get
influencing dollars.
And then the Warzone, which is like equally now, I guess, run by Activision and all teams who are involved. Warzone are like, okay, you don't think Black Ops were like, how can we put our stuff in the marketplace?
Yep.
You know that your marketplace sells gangbusters. How about we put some zombie packs in there for you guys? How about we put some stuff in there, some skins, some zombie guns? Can you guys kick us back 30% of those profits? Of course you can. That's how it works. And I think that why build your own Warzone, which could potentially fail, when there is one that already works and has an active and booming marketplace? And that's, I think, why you see Marvel dropping into Fortnite every 6 months and going, we got superheroes for everyone. It's not because Marvel used to be so protective of their licensing that they would never have allowed what they do in Fortnite, which is like having a Captain America storyline and all these Thor and when you could play as help me out here, the purple face guy, Thanos. All those things, you know. Then when they broke the mold like that, that was it. I think Marvel broke the wall because Star Wars, who have also been a very tight-lipped company, LucasArts Games, not really big on giving all their stuff out.
They don't share their IP very easily.
Let's do X-Wings as umbrellas, and let's do Rey with a lightsaber cutting down buildings. You know, I think that when you get something as popular as these titles, Warzone, PUBG, Apex, you don't reinvent the formula. The formula was invented 8 months ago.
Well, not at this level.
They sold their IPs, though. You got to understand, they sold their IPs to Disney, and Disney has a very different idea on what they don't hold the IP as this personal trademark like Lucas did.
We're very, very, very protective of what.
No, I was going to say Disney usually all about sharing.
At the Disney theme parks, you used to be able to watch a show, which you can look up on YouTube right now, where Han Solo is dancing, Chewbacca's dancing, Darth Vader comes out and he's doing the YMCA. It's this whole show that they had at MGM Studios that we used to watch as kids. And it was just like, what is going on here? They'd have Ewoks coming out dancing. They'd have 3PO coming out doing the robot. And it was just like, what is going on here? As soon as Disney bought the rights, that was it. That show went away because it was not good for the reputation of the show. There was also a Star Wars made-for-TV movie, a musical, where Chewbacca sings and he has a wife and children.
What?
But Disney also tried to bury that as well, even though it's still considered canon. There's a Star Wars musical. Let's pull it up right now.
Yeah, pull that up, man. Tell me what this is. I will check that out, man, because that
Star
sounds
Wars
incredible.
Musical.
That's hilarious. So here, let me tell you what you get mixed in. You get military ranks, seasonal prestige leveling, player progression reset, and weapon progression. Oh, operator selection is also shared between the two games. So Cold War is actually going to open up. I think what they're considering to be it resets your rank. So your XP is the only thing that's reset. Everything you've unlocked you get to keep. So you're starting from 0 XP.
Will XP be shared moving forward?
Yes.
So
Yes.
any game I play will just share a combined user profile for both games.
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
that's
At
pretty
the launch of
badass.
season 1 in December, the path to gaining XP and leveling will be shared across all 3 Call of Duty titles: Black Ops, Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Warzone.
Good on them. That's badass. That's
Mhm.
a badass
I
idea.
think that's great.
Yeah.
The Star Wars Holiday Special was made in 1978 and was an American TV special set in the universe of Star Wars. It was directed by Steve Binder. It was a Star Wars spin-off film set between the events of Empire Strikes Back and the original
That's
film.
so
It
fun.
stars all of the original cast, where they sing and dance. On Life Day, Chewbacca is accompanied by Han Solo and is headed home to see his family. Along the way, he's chased by a duo of Star Destroyers, but they escape into hyperspace. Anyway, yeah, during the search for blah, 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 blah. Let's see what anybody has to say about it. Music, yeah, there's 4 musical songs in it. There's comedy in it. There's a little cartoon in the middle of it. Anyway, I didn't mean to get so sidetracked with that, guys.
No, that's okay. I'm fairly certain that movie that was the inspiration for Spaceballs.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, dude. They saw that and was like, "What the heck is going on here?" All right, let's see what else we got then.
Do you
So
want to get on to the new game impressions?
I do, dude. Let's get on to it. So let's go. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We've got the trailer lined
Got a
up.
trailer. Yes, we do.
We'll have it fired up for you guys.
Yes, we will.
Yes. Hey,
I did not want to fire up the trailer. Because it'll
Just try it.
crash.
Try it because everything
Alright.
is running great on your end right now. I've been watching it the whole time.
Okay, hang on a second. So we're watching the
High inputs, technical.
Open it in Edge. Do not open it in Chrome. Bro.
it's such a
telling you.
habit, bro. It's such a habit. Hang on a second. So I was trying to talk about the trailer that you and Nick were discussing pre-show here about
It is in
it is in the Discord chat.
the Discord, the high input Discord chat, which everybody who's watching is more than welcome to join. We will drop it down.
Missy's on here. Okay.
As our friend Missy, please, you are more than welcome to be on our.
I tried to tell her. Oh, whoops! I'm on the wrong channel. We just disappeared
Yes,
from
you
our.
are. You're on the wrong page.
Oh, my bad, guys. Oh shit. Oh, because it was
Yeah.
on Discord. That's why that happened. I understand now. Okay. So we're going full screen. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, while Valhalla is a Assassin's Creed game, as Nick would call it, as something that is not something that we want to give too much credit to because they didn't exactly break the mold. Huh?
Perfect. By the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, that's great to know. So they didn't break the mold with Assassin's Creed here, right? We can't expect Assassin's Creed to break the mold. Nick, I know you expressed some criticism towards Assassin's Creed because this is just, as you said, another Assassin's Creed game. However,
Get me started.
you know, I do feel
Here, when you're riding on the boats, isn't just a little bit of Cassandra.
it is a little
Right.
bit of Cassandra, but again,
It is.
I personally believe that Assassin's Creed is about the story, and it's telling a story in a different context. And if you're not
they do
playing
it
Assassin's
so well.
Creed, They do it better than anyone else in the industry, in my opinion. And you're talking so they do so well that Assassin's Creed Origins was used for historical context, where you can take a educational tour through ancient Egypt and learn about ancient Egypt. They do it so well, man. Like that, it's what you're getting out of an Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah,
It's not bad. Like, look at that.
I'm not denying that it's not a good game. I'm not denying that it's not a pretty game.
No innovation.
I'm denying that it's not a next-gen game. And I expect a little bit more from...
Well, now hold on. So is Miles Morales a next-gen game? Or is it just a reskin Spider-Man?
It's not a reskin Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man with ray tracing, which is new hardware effects.
So does this not have ray tracing? Is this
It will. It will.
Okay.
But what my biggest concern is that neither games are truly next gen. Not in the consideration that we were just talking about Cyberpunk, and pre-show we talked about how Cyberpunk really, I'm not going to talk about it too long, but really how the cutscenes are non-existent anymore. They took a leaf out of God of War's book where you open up a car door, a woman extends her hand to you, you take it, you sit in the car, now you're talking to somebody, you get a job, he parks you on the side of the road, you get out, you're in another part of town, seamless loading times if you're on a next-gen console.
But I would just say that's a different way to tell the story of their game.
I would agree, but I would agree that God of War plays with a better, plays with a unique feeling to it that felt truly fresh and new.
Unique.
And I'm not saying that this game isn't going to be good. It is going to be great. It's going to get 9s and 10s across the board. It's going to be just another great Assassin's Creed game. Our Origins got 9 out of 10. Odyssey got 9 out of 10. This is going to be more of the same. It's going to be great development, great characters.
I have to bring something up in the middle of that conversation. So we're saying that a 9 is not necessarily
a playable game.
You would
No, it's playable. I'm nowhere along the lines that I say it's playable. I'm saying they're not truly next gen games. So my excitement is I'm meeting this with the same excitement that I met Spider-Man with on my PS4. This is a really good looking PS4 generation game. It's going to run really well on my PC at 120 frames, maybe 100 frames, 1440p. It's going to look fantastic. Probably not 100. Probably similar to
Odyssey.
To how Odyssey was. So probably around 75 frames. But it's going to look fantastic. The settings are going to be fantastic. But am I going to call you up with a tear in my eye the way I did when God of War started?
God of War was there.
We're cutting down that tree and he's carrying it back and he's telling his son, we have to carry this. Come with me, boy. And he's doing all this.
Well, no.
But and I understand it won't, but that's what I'm expecting from next gen. And I know it's not coming for a year and a half.
You're expecting too much.
But no,
you're expecting too much.
I feel like we're confusing masterpiece with
next gen.
With next gen, because let's be real, not all the next gen games are going to be masterpieces.
But that doesn't mean they're not next gen games.
No, again, totally, I agree, but I still think that next gen will be a game that is. Next gen will be a game that looks like this, but is like 4 times as large.
Yeah, but you got to use Ratchet and Clank as the example, right? Ratchet and Clank Rift in Time, right, or whatever the next gen game is called. You would think feels and plays exactly the same, but you can like jump between levels. But when you look at the side by sides,
in that game,
that's not the case. It's not just loading times, Nick. It's how many enemies are on the screen. It's how many assets are on screen at one time.
Are you seeing on screen here from what we see with Cassandra? I'm not seeing.
I am curious to see what.
No, you're right. But let's say when you're. Oh well, in the last game we played, you fought.
Large
stream at once.
Yeah, you had large scale battles that you took part of.
And when you fly whatever bird you have in this game, which I'm sure you'll have.
They just showed them. They did show them earlier, but I don't think it's about as many assets on screen so much in Assassin's Creed. It's more about graphic fidelity, I think, while playing a game like this. And I'm curious
To
if.
me, I think a lot of Cassandra on the PC, and to me, this is looking awful.
Look at him. He just chopped that dude's head off completely. Like, that's
I
pretty
mean,
sick. I
okay,
didn't know
so
that was a
maybe the
thing.
problem is our definitions of
No,
next
they
gen.
do have dismemberment now, so
What
that,
it- I mean, Nick, what does next gen mean to you?
I would just say something innovatively different. I would say that, like, when Grand Theft Auto went from the PlayStation 3 and we had, no, I guess that's a bad example. Innovation would be like when we went from Vice City to Grand Theft Auto 4, from 2 to 3. So I'm not expecting that level of a jump graphically, but I am expecting, I've told this to Chris before, I want to hold developers accountable for why isn't every game like The Last of Us Part 2? You have the
Yeah,
budget.
I mean, you're at. See, I think that's a really big ask because I think the
Is
most.
it when we're talking
I think it is. I think it is because I really think.
is Ubisoft worth compared to Naughty Dog? I bet they're worth more. So don't tell me they
Probably.
can't afford it, because they can.
No, but games like that just don't. I mean, it's just like anything else. You know, you don't get a Tom Brady quarterback out of every draft pick that you get. I mean, it's just not going to happen that way.
Don't you think they should start giving Assassin's Creed?
Sure, and maybe the $70 price tag will hold the developers more accountable
That's,
for what they
that's
do.
another thing that might just brought
Maybe.
everyone's
I
attention.
don't know. I don't know.
$70 for a game that looks pretty much the same. On
Can I
PS4.
just say that watching this trailer right now, this is not Odyssey, right? There
No,
are
not at all.
differences. There are differences here, Nick. And if you're thinking there aren't any differences,
There are subtle differences.
they're
sure,
not
but-
subtle. They're not subtle. In the same right that Ratchet and Clank Rift in Time or Space or whatever looks different side by side.
Look, did you see the sale just come
Yes,
down?
yeah. This is not the same game in any capacity.
There's going to be texture improvements and things like that.
Not just
The way-
textures, Nick. There's
Well,
there's
so-
mechanics,
so I
mechanical
think-
The way
improvement.
the
I
menu pulls up, the way you put the outfits on, the way that the way the HUD is with the mission
Well,
right up
sure,
there.
the actual game itself
It's
plays as the
literally
game.
like you're playing a carbon cut version just in a different time. We
but
this looks like we're just playing, to me, Assassin's Creed Odyssey in Viking times.
I think
And
what
it
you're
looks like
talking, I
that.
think what you're just talking about, you just want better games, but I don't think that has anything to do really with the consoles. I think what the consoles bring for most people is better graphics.
Yeah. I think
That's what it brings.
I agree. I think I'm
You
hoping
want developers to be accountable
better game.
for the games that they make,
Don't
for the content that they put out to us.
100%.
Because there's no reason why a $4 indie game on Steam should be of better quality than a game you bought for $60.
Yeah. And
You're
now
100%
we're talking. Now we're talking. They're charging $70 for
Right.
For Dirt 5 that is getting torn apart online right now, getting 6s out of 10, 7s out of 10s, and $70 for that. And it's just a racing game that you pick up on your Xbox for $60.
If we want to talk innovation, I think the three big things you're going to get that are innovative about these consoles is going to be one, the compression, two, the speed of everything, and three, it's going to be the audio engines, which I think is the thing that people talk about the least. But the audio engines in these consoles is going to be next level. It's going to take two
they talked
speakers
about how
around your head and make you feel like you were sitting in a room, like you were there. I mean,
Yeah.
everything
That
is going to
3D
be
audio
3D.
for PS5 sounds
The
incredible.
3D audio,
Yeah.
IGN
that is one of the
just-
largest technical advancements that I think we're going to see that we don't even realize yet.
Yeah, IGN didn't just give the controller for the PlayStation a 9 out of 10 and the Xbox an 8. They gave the headphones for the PlayStation 5 a 9 out of 10 as well.
The problem is not every game is going to utilize it, so it's going to be up to the developers to use that technology. And the console, the Sony and Microsoft need to try to push that because it's important. They spend a lot of money on that.
Can I just say IGN actually did not give PS5 a 9. It gave it an 8 as well as the Xbox Series X.
Is it?
Yeah, both of them are tied at an 8 with the Series S at a 7.
Ooh.
That's good.
Yeah, I
And
like
the
that.
Series S is at a 7. Is it mostly because of the storage? Now, I'm guessing it's because of the storage and the GPU.
Weak GPU.
So the other thing I found interesting was that PS5 is not going to support expandable storage on release.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I wondered too.
What, are they not going to have that slot available? What?
I don't know. I just don't know that you will be able to use it.
I remember when the PlayStation 4 released, you couldn't extend external hard drives to it for like 6 months. I know that for a fact because I had an extendable hard drive and you couldn't. It took a little while before they had an update that said now you can use external hardware on your PS4. So that was a thing.
Can I just say, as someone who is a diehard Viking fan, I am so excited for this game.
I'm really excited.
I asked you guys in our group chat the other day, is this a day one buy for you guys? And both of you were like,
Yeah,
I
never
really
buy
watched the gameplay trailer.
I never,
just remember, you buy this, you have 3 weeks to get as far in it as you can before you drop it for Cyberpunk.
yeah. So
That's what worries me.
I never ever buy Assassin's Creed games day one because they're just as good for $25 7 months into the game, and there's just no reason to buy them for $70.
Wow, there are a lot of people on screen on this.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just a regular encampment.
Walking around town.
This is a regular encampment brawl that's going on right now. I mean, this game is not Odyssey, Nick. I gotta say, you're almost never wrong. You're wrong on this one, dog. I'm telling you right now, this game is next gen as it gets.
Well, because we're watching
different about the combat, but I can't tell what it is. There's something different about
There's something about how you walk around in general, and the camera angles dropping down in a way that Odyssey didn't do this in the way that it was.
They added a charge instead of a Viking kick, or instead of a
Spartan kick.
So look in that bottom right corner, you can see where all her abilities are, the same as you would press the L1 button.
The mechanics are going to play the same. It is the same game. The mechanics
are the same, and you're saying you're getting excited over camera angle dropping when that's just literally pressing L1 and pressing X.
It's not about getting excited over camera angle dropping. It's about what's on screen while he's playing this, right? Like, it is different, man. It really does feel different.
Sorry.
No, you're good, brother. You're good.
I just gotta go kill this bug. I'll be right back.
Oh, you got a big one? Yeah, Mike. Well, I don't know. This game, I'm telling you, I said earlier, as a Viking fan, it's good. It looks fun.
I think Vikings are really interesting. I'm actually really surprised that they haven't done this before.
Right.
Oddly enough, it seems like the perfect thing to do. I think this is going to be really cool. I think Vikings are really big right now. How many shows do we have out right now that are about Vikings? I mean, this is going to be cool.
Yeah, this is. I'm curious how I get what Nick's saying about the fact that this is just a carbon copy of Odyssey. However, I think what he's missing, and I think that, like, even just watching him run around with this mace, right, like with this thing swaying and the feel, what they're able to bring, how when he does this little shockwave out of seeing what's in front of him.
Team
yeah, you're
fighting.
Yeah, you're able and you're able to control them with different movements. However, I don't think that the mechanics change much from what we've already seen, but I don't think it should. It's a sequel. I don't think it should change much. But again, that's semantics. What we're gonna see. Oh, look. Right, we took it all the way to the end. But I'm excited for the game. I think it's going to be good. I get what you're saying, Nick. I do. I don't think it's wrong. I just think that it won't.
You're like, oh, I like how you can control the Vikings separately. I'm like, oh yeah, like you can control the assassins and
right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I was saying.
Just pulling things from 4 games ago and implementing them, calling it new.
It's just like what we talk about with games that work, right? Don't change Warzone. Warzone works. Assassin's Creed mechanics. A lot of games copy it. It works. You use it. You just tell a good story every time. You don't need to change it.
Yeah.
If you change it, you really might fuck it up.
You risk fucking it up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Messing it up.
Well, there was a guy in the beginning of the game called what was his name? Dustin or Delson? He was like the main guy that all this was happening to. Around Assassin's Creed 3, they just killed him. They were like, yeah, we're not going to have this guy's memories anymore. We're going to start using Abstergo as an industry. Then, like, Assassin's Creed 4 was all first person. 5 and 6 were like on mobile devices. 7, whatever. I can't remember. We're probably getting around Origins now is when they started to get better, when they took a 2-year break from it. I'm not saying that this isn't a good game. I think it will be a good game. I think that it's just more of the same, which is fine. I think, like Chris said, it's not making me run out the door and spend $70 on it because it will be just as good for $25. Not $25. It'll be more like $39.
Yeah, $40. That's a $40 game all day.
Yeah, but I do agree with you that, like, maybe I expect too much out of them. I just hope they go away for another couple years like they did when they were annualizing the games. So right after, I believe it was whatever came out after the one where they were in London.
Yeah, that Revolutionary War game, and then they went to Origins was the real game breaker. Because they turned into that RPG with Origins, where they win our RPG style.
And they left the game for 2 years. They were like, oh, by the way, we're not doing another Assassin's Creed next year. We're going away for 2 years. We're going to come back with something special. They do have something special now. I just think that like what we're seeing in this game is almost what we got from The Witcher 3 like 5 years ago. And I know that is just the way that it's going to work in the world, that like we'll probably get a good version of a Grand Theft Auto at some point.
Like what you're saying right now is what we're getting with this game is questionably the game we got that was the best game of an entire generation, right? Like that. Comparing it to Witcher 3 because it was 5 years ago.
They finally caught up with the last gen game is what I'm saying.
That's not a last gen game. It's the greatest game that graced the last generation, right? They did not just grace the last gen game, right? A last gen game could be called Ratchet and Clank. A last gen game could be called something like
a last gen game
Outer
was on
Worlds.
The last gen system.
Outer Worlds. I mean, so is God of War. Are we going to compare all next gen games to God of War?
It's on a next gen console. Well, then every game that comes out on a next gen console is next gen, regardless of whether it's good or bad.
God of War, I don't think should be
the worst. It could be Katamari Damacy, which I fucking hate running around and rolling over the fucking world, but
you can't put God of War and Outer Worlds in the same conversation.
You can.
They aren't in the same conversation.
Outer Worlds should have been better because it was made later.
No, it's like saying I want every movie to be Godfather,
right?
All of it to be Scarface
or Goodfellas.
Right. They did say that our generation has a higher standard of movies than the generation that came before us. So the generation that came before us were okay with movies like Road Trip and American Pie, but our generation would not stand for that anymore.
Yes, they do. Look at Hubie Halloween. Hubie Halloween
straight to Netflix, bro. You wouldn't get a Hubie Halloween selling out like Tenet does in the movie theaters. Tenet now is going to challenge people's minds, like Inception challenged people's minds. All these big movies that come out now, there's nothing too big for us anymore. The Matrix was the biggest thing we had in the 90s. You compare that to like Interstellar? What are we talking about here? People have a new expectation of movies. And I think that we should hold video games to a higher expectation. Don't be giving us rinse and repeat versions of NBA every year. Same way I feel about Assassin's Creed. If you're just going to give us it in another time period, make it fucking DLC. Don't be charging me $70 for a cut and rinse paste version of last year's game. I know that sounds ridiculous.
It doesn't sound ridiculous. It does have a valid point to it. It has a ring. But I do disagree with you when I look at that gameplay, and I can't tell you in good faith.
Next gen.
It does. I don't think it looks like Odyssey as much as you're saying it does. I think that's a cheap shot at it, and I think they've done better than what you're saying. I'm curious to see a side by side. I want to see Odyssey.
Yeah, I was about to say
running
this
next
time
to Valhalla.
Next week, join us for a side by side.
Yeah, we'll pull that together. We'll pull a side by side.
I'll buy a $2,500 gaming PC just to run in the other games.
Yeah, that's it. We'll do it. That's it.
What I want to see is the facial animation of the pedestrians, because they sucked in Assassin's Creed. Remember when we were watching Odyssey and you said to me that you watched that guy Marcus talking in the street and you instantly realized that he wasn't the same as The Witcher?
Yeah.
And I was like, if it's similar to how it is in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm going to be frustrated. About these characters have no depth. Like when I walked up to Mythios and he was like, I couldn't tell he was a bad guy, even though he was openly telling me I'm fucking you.
So I played Last of Us Part 2 right before I played Odyssey, right? And I was playing Witcher 3, which is 4 or 5 years older than Odyssey. And that's the most frustrating part for me for video games, right? Is the fact that when you walk up to an NPC and their mouth moves at like 8 frames per minute while they're trying to have a conversation with you, and you're like,
motion capped.
It's like, what is this? How are we still here when we're having these great conversations about graphic fidelity? We're having these great conversations about refresh rate. How are they still not being able to do this right? I have to
say that in The Last of Us Part 2, when every character was correctly motion capped, when you talk to Mel in the aquarium, when you talk to Owen, you felt Owen. Look, I can remember that.
Right.
They were like people.
It was like you were watching a movie. and it's not that in every
what?
game.
I'll tell you what, that's how I felt when I played the first couple of Mass Effect games, because they're very,
Yep.
very, very good, and they were very next gen like that. They
Not
had
Andromeda.
all the conversation. Andromeda was a steaming pile of shit, but
Yeah.
supposedly they fixed all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever, I don't know. I didn't play it, but the other ones were that good, and that's how I felt when I first played those games. All the decision making you made, all of the mocap voice. I completely understand.
I would argue that the facial capturing, and I would say that you'd all agree, the mocap in The Last of Us Part 2 just crushed Red Dead Redemption 2, which was still very
All of
good. But watching,
Nothing's been made like that. Nothing's been made like that.
Watching the Red Dead characters now in comparison to the Last of Us characters, you're like, oh, that's the game.
Mhm.
And that's like really challenging what a game is. You know,
Right.
when you're on Owen's boat and you're talking to Owen as Abby and you're like discussing your night or whatever, and the rain is dripping off, and then, like Mike says, the audio is different. It's like,
Yeah,
you're right. It does wrap you up in this sense that like this is next gen. And I'm not saying that Assassin's Creed won't do that too. I haven't seen enough of the cutscenes.
It
but
won't. It won't do
wanna
that. I
see-
can tell you that right
I
now.
want
It
to
won't.
see water dripping in his beard, like
Mhm.
in a cutscene. You know what I mean? Like you would see when you were Abby outside and you're covered in mud and you
And
spin the camera
I
around
played
and-
that on an OG PlayStation that I bought in 2014. If you can't bring that to me for $500 on a console I'm buying in 2020, get the fuck out of here, man. Like it really.
I rest my
Yeah,
case.
you're not wrong. I promise you, not. That's
Take it
my.
like I'm saying,
right. But that doesn't mean that that's not going to be a good game.
It's
That
not-
just
Agree,
means-
Right.
agree.
Right.
It just isn't pushing the tech the way that a last gen game did.
And that
We know
lands on the.
most games don't push the tech. That's why we have games like Cyberpunk
Mm-hmm.
and The Witcher. I mean, every game would be game of the year if that was the case. If every game
Yeah,
was like that,
It lands on the
should
it lands
be.
on the lap of the developer, not the console. The console has the ability to do it. Look at what Last of Us did
I
with
would
the
actually say
PS4.
it lands
you
more
know?
on the publisher. They're
It
the
does.
oversight. They're giving out the money. They should be the ones to expect
Sure.
a higher.
Look at- all right, who is Naughty Dog's publisher? Sony, right? They're going to give them as much time as they want. Who is Rockstar's Take-Two? Who is Rocksteady's Warner Brothers, right? Like when you've proven yourself, the first game you make will always probably be a crunch. But once you've proven that you can make and sell games, people give you as much room as you
Sure.
need. You
But
never,
so
ever-
Sony has how many developers, man? Look at you. It's not just Naughty Dog. Look at Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man was fantastic. Can you say that those facial animations and that mocap had anything comparable to anything Naughty Dog pulled out of their ass with Last of Us Part 2?
It wasn't
No, same-
comparable. It wasn't comparable. But that last scene, we won't get into the spoilers.
Right. Right.
But Spider-Man was mocap to a point where I cried.
Against
Because-
tears came out of me, and I haven't cried in years. Tears came out of me with Spider-Man. Like
I
and
think
Death Stranding's another one that's good mocap.
Death Stranding, they crushed it. You think you're watching those guys on television? You know,
I
they
also
killed
believe
it.
you need to play the rebooted version of Spider-Man because they said that they were able to correctly mocap the voice better with their new character, and I'm interested to see how well he animates the voice because it can be everything, right? Imagine Kratos looked different in God of War to how he looks to how we know him, and it had to match up to that voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly I love Spider-Man. And I'm not a big hero fanboy. I'm not a big superhero fanboy. I don't like those kind of games typically. Spider-Man was one of my favorite games of the generation. However, the mocap and the facial animations, the lip syncing in that game was garbage. I mean, hot steaming garbage. And
I actually don't remember it being that bad.
it was bad.
I disagree with him because that scene when you're talking to Doc Ock and he's got all his arms coming out, jaw on the floor.
I just don't. I feel like I expect more out of the conversations we're having with the tech. That especially Last of Us Part 2 was the first time the conversation got, like we talked about, when you can see in her face that she knows that's Joel, right? Without her saying a word, that the way her eyebrow moves and the like that scrunch on her face, and no
And
game.
The pupils dilate from pain.
That no game has touched that, and that's what I expect out of my games. And I think it's because I'm expecting too much, right? Games just aren't there yet. We think until Last of Us drops.
Arthur reloads a revolver. He's counting with his mouth. He's
right. Yeah, unnecessarily. Like that's and And I would say that we're expecting too much until a game like Last of Us drops, and you're like, oh, we're not expecting too much. It's doable. We're there.
How long
They're
do
just
those
not
games
doing it.
typically take? How long have they been working on Cyberpunk? How long did they work on Red Dead?
Cyberpunk's about an 8-year video.
How
game.
long did they work on? How long have they been working on GTA 6 already? We're expecting these developers to collectively all work on these games for 6 to 8 years to make masterpieces.
What would we be
We'd
playing?
be missing a lot of games.
Like maybe we do need a developer.
And these games in the middle they're not stinkers. They're just not masterpieces.
You're right, and maybe we do need a company that will deliver us a 9 every other year than one company that
We
gives
wouldn't be able to appreciate it if every game was like that.
No, I don't think it's about appreciation. I think it's about time, like you just said. Yeah, I'd rather play a 9 every other year than a few 10s every 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, you're right, dude. If you can put out some stuff that might not quite be a 10, but it is like Ghost of Tsushima, right? Like, everybody wants to play that game. I'm surprised I still haven't bought that for the PlayStation
What
yet.
if Avatar was considered a masterpiece of a movie and we're like, every movie needs to be like Avatar? Well, fuck, every movie would never come out.
Agreed, but Avatar did raise the bar.
In 3D. It did.
No, in general, they've all spoken about how Avatar just genuinely, even South Park did an episode about it. James Cameron going as deep under the ocean as he could. And they're like, why is he going so deep? And they're like, he's taking that submarine that he made to the bottom of the Challenger crevice. And they're like, why would he go so deep? And then he's raising the bar from the bottom. They're like, oh my God, he's really raising the bar. And they're talking about how much he raised the bar with Avatar.
It's true. But still, you can't expect every movie to be a 10-year struggle to make.
No,
you know,
you're right.
it's just
it's 100%. Dude.
Your expectations aren't too high, and what you're asking is unfortunately unreasonable because of the timelines, the time. Fuck, we're happy that Cyberpunk's finally about to come out. But if they said they pushed it back to next year, how would you feel? Like let's say next December. You'd be really upset.
Really upset.
Like really upset.
Yeah.
Right. I completely agree with that. I just got a little thrown off here. So we're going to move into the late to the party and see where we go with this. Late to the party's featured game was Rocket League. Does anybody know the developer of Rocket League?
Psyonix is the developer of Rocket League.
Is that who it is? Is it?
It is Psyonix.
Oh,
yes, it's definitely not what's in there now.
Okay.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
So we've got that all set.
And that's definitely not the year it was released, but that's okay. Yeah, Rocket League is a game that kind of falls into the category of a game that works and doesn't really need a second game, right? Chris hates the game, so we won't even go there. He thinks it's the worst game on the planet, but a lot of people would disagree with him. The model of Rocket League works fantastically. It's a game about cars that are rocket powered. You pick up boost, you fly through the air, you hit a ball. It's like soccer with rocket powered cars. You can also play hockey and basketball. But recently what happened is that Epic picked up Rocket League, and now everybody gets Rocket League for free. And everything is tied together with an Epic account on every single console. So whereas I used to have completely separate accounts for the PC, the Switch, the Xbox, and the PS4, I can now use my one Epic account tied to my main account that has my 900 hours worth of gameplay on it with all of the items that I've unlocked along the way. And I can bring it to anything I play, which is great. It's nice to be able to play with friends on Xbox and PS4, join parties on the different kinds of ways that I can, which is a whole other problem of not being able to use Discord on consoles. Listen to that, Sony and Microsoft, do something about that.
How is that not a thing already? What is going on?
I actually think that's going to be a real big problem for them, because people like Ryan, who puts his phone on his chest to be on Discord with us while we're playing a game on Xbox, it's ridiculous. Obviously you could just join in the Xbox app, but Discord is an entirely another level of voice communication, right? So it'd be nice to have that feature.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I agree.
How do they not have Discord on?
There was a lot of talk about how the new systems weren't launching with Discord and how
I think it's because they cannot monitor what goes on in Discord, just like the NSFW channels where you don't know what's going on. They can't monitor that stuff. They can't have people just putting whatever they want in there. And
I
that's
agree, and I
that's
think
always been Sony's argument about not allowing.
up monitoring as well, saying they're going to record every conversation if you want them to and submit it to the SEC.
For
I
sure.
think that's got even more people saying like, the Discord apparently have already proved themselves as the number one go-to third-party application for you to do this kind of conversation with. I think every podcast on the planet is currently using Discord in some array.
It used to be things like TeamSpeak.
Yeah, I remember TeamSpeak when I used to play World of Warcraft.
You used to have GameSpy. You used to be able to join with people long time ago. Ooh,
There, Mike knows.
show my age.
Mike, would you recommend it now as a game?
Rocket League? Absolutely. The biggest problem with Rocket League is that it's got a pretty massive learning curve. It is a game that literally created its own type of game. It is a competitive. They created their own sport with Rocket League. It requires actual skill that you need to hone. The first time you jump on the game, you're going to go, this game sucks. This is awful. I can't do anything.
And then the second, third, eighth time you jump in it, you're going to go, this game sucks.
Nukeman would agree with me. He just started playing the game, and every game he plays, he can feel his progress getting better and better. He can hit the ball better. He can finally jump in the air and fly through the air and hit a ball. And you see that. It's visual, and it's progress that you can really feel. It takes time. It could take a month to get really good at that game at all. But once you get to that point, the game is one of the most fun games that I've ever played. And it's actually exciting. My heart bumps in games where you go into overtime.
What I like about games like Rocket League is games that give everybody the equal set of tools. The only increase is like Fortnite, right? The only increase you get is
skill.
No. The only thing that you can buy in the game is for your outfits. What's the word? Aesthetically, right? So you can change the skin, you can change the way the tires look, but it doesn't give you any physical edge to the way that you play the game. It all comes down to your skill as a player, which is what I like about FIFA and basketball and racing games is that everyone has a level playing field, and it's the best driver that wins. It's the best soccer player that wins. It's the best whatever. And so I like that in a game where you start with the same skills as a guy who is like the number one Rocket League player in the world. He's got the same car you have. It's just he's moving the sticks in a way that you need to learn. It's like a guitar, right? Like I can play guitar, and if I handed a guitar to someone who couldn't, they can't play guitar, but the guitar is the same. The strings are the same. It's when you've acquired that skill to play the game correctly is when you'll start to make music. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I could get Chris to play it now that it's free. He doesn't even have to pay for it. I just want to get him in like...
Dude, Mike, it will be if you can get me to like Rocket League, bro, I'm almost willing to put some money on the table, bro. I would get good at this game and still argue that it's trash.
I was just going to say, if you got good at this game, I promise that if you actually got to where you could play the game, that you would say this is one of the most exciting... It's hard to explain that the game is actually thrilling.
I've never played a game so painful in my whole life. It's so painful.
Listen, guys. I love that you guys are going to talk about Rocket League until you're blue in the face, especially Chris. He could definitely dig it into the earth if he wanted to. So let's move on to this next thing. It's really, 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 really interesting.
I'll do that bet.
I'll do it.
Ticky Tech Talk, everybody. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-bum. It's Tech Talk.
All right.
Tech Talk is where we're going to talk a little bit about some new tech, and Mike's going to take it from here, everybody.
Yes, so this is going to be very short. I have not had a lot of time to play with it yet, but I do want to bring up the fact that the new iDevices have come out, and I picked up myself an iPad Pro 2nd generation.
Woo, boy!
Yeah, well, thankfully, I didn't even realize that I had an upgrade available on AT&T, so thank you, AT&T, for this upgrade. Sponsored by AT&T.
Thank you very much.
The iPad Pro, and I actually wouldn't mind if Chris maybe pulled this up. You want to pull it up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
we can do this.
All right. Here, take this.
I can't do it on that because you will disappear. I got you. I'm just gonna. It's an iPad. What is it? iPad Pro 2.
iPad Pro 11 2nd gen.
11 2nd generation. Okie doke. Let's see what we're looking at here. Going to images? Or are we going to
Why don't you?
Let's see.
Whatever
We'll
you
just let you disappear here for a second, and that's not what we want to look at.
I'm not going to do much yet, except just go over some of the technical specs because like I said, I have not had enough time to play with it. I just got it about a day ago. I love it so far, but I have yet to really go through all the nuts and bolts of this thing.
Okay, so are we just go? Like I said, are we just going to go to the Apple's website?
Just go through it. Sure, let's do that.
We're going to apple.com here for the 11-inch. Let's see what we got here. We'll go to screen share and show people what we're looking at here.
So moving with the new iPad Pro, the last iPad Pro that I had only came in 64 gigs. This one comes in 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte for a massive amount of storage in a tablet. As you can see on the screen too, they actually have their new Magic Keyboard, which is kind of neat. It kind of hovers and it's got a keyboard and something new in all of the devices that they are building to go along, the accessories to go along with the iPad. A mouse pad, which I find very interesting. I will talk more about that later. It's been a love-hate relationship so far. With this, you're getting 5 microphones, 4 speakers. In the box, you are actually getting a USB-C charging cable and a power brick, which is something that is not going to be included in the new iPhones. You get your Liquid Retina display, just like all the other iPad Pros that have come out so far. 11-inch LED backlit multi-touch display with IPS technology with a resolution of 2388 by 1668 pixels.
That's incredible for an iPad.
ProMotion technology, everything running at 120 hertz. Fingerprint resistant oleophobic coating, fully laminated display, 600 nits of brightness, which means that this thing is bright. I mean, insanely bright. We've got a new to go along with some of the power of this device. I just want to say that the A12Z Bionic chip is incredible. It is one of the fastest chips that I've used in a mobile device as far as a tablet. I also have a Surface Pro. It's the 7. Oh, can't hear you, Nick.
Is that, sorry about that, guys. Is that the same chip they have in the new 12 Pro phones?
I want to say that the 12 has an A14 chip.
Okay.
Which the next iPad Pros will have the A14Z. So that's something for later, as far as I understand. They're more powerful than an i9 that's in a MacBook Pro. Something for later. Something that we get on this, we get 2 cameras. We get a wide 12 megapixel with a 1.8 aperture, and we get an ultra wide 10 megapixel 2.4 aperture for your wide shots. I love taking those things, especially when I'm at Disney. You get 2 times optical zoom, 5 times digital zoom. Something I find really interesting is that it's actually got a new camera on the back specifically to do depth in augmented reality.
I'm playing the video right now in augmented reality for LiDAR. I'm
LiDAR camera.
Look at this.
I find that this is absolutely incredible.
I'm playing the video right now on the stream. That looks fun as hell, man. Like, what?
Wait, so what's he doing? He's playing like a lava game?
The floor is lava. It has LiDAR tech in the camera, so it shows like the depth perception very, very accurately.
Very accurately.
So it allowed, like, you see how the G.I. Joe here just jumped off the books onto the couch?
Damn.
That's pretty incredible. He can get him to jump on the girlfriend, I wonder? No, he just skipped over the girlfriend. That's pretty incredible, man. Have you messed with that yet, Mike?
I have not used it. That's why I said I have had very limited exposure with everything that this has to offer, and I'm really excited to dive in and mess with it. I do have the 2nd generation Apple Pencil as well, so I'll be able to test out everything this tablet has to offer. Look at this for a work environment. I mean,
that's
it's incredible.
Insane.
What Apple does in the tablet game is really hard to beat. Samsung makes a very nice tablet. Microsoft is a whole nother beast. It's really a full laptop.
She scanned her whole room.
She's creating desk space. She's trying to show what it would look like if she had this.
That's it in 3D. She's walking around right now.
Is that incredible? Yeah, this LiDAR is supposed to be amazing.
Damn, dude, you could like really get an idea of what your room would look like before you tear it into pieces.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very excited to play around with this. I can't wait. That's why I said next week.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
day one thing, Mike. You should have been doing that one at my house when you brought that thing over.
I know I was slipping, but that's okay. We will.
Aren't you
test all
so
that out.
glad that like this is the tech that's coming out when you're 30 and not a VCR?
Right?
I know that, like,
That's so true.
I know 100% that we could have been
Yeah,
born
it's like
100
I
years
just
from
spent
now.
$500 on this VCR.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were talking about how your
However,
dad had like a $2,000 PC that was.
Our kids are going to be
Oh.
saying the same shit and being like,
Agreed,
"Aren't you glad it's
agreed,
this and not an
agreed.
iPad 2 or an iPad
Agreed.
10?"
But considering the way and the turbulent times
What
that
is
we're in
this?
today,
What is
did
this
we
piece of shit?
maybe we lived in the best times? You don't
Yeah.
know that. Just because it could be different doesn't mean it
Right.
could be better, everyone.
Yeah, you're right.
But
tell you
but
what,
I do think it is nice that we're all looking at like. Remember when we were children and the thought of holding a glass panel and having information being funneled through the glass panel was like, oh, that's never going to happen.
Incredible.
Now, Mike
Incredible.
just showed us a glass TV the other day that was see-through in someone's kitchen on Linus Tech, and like that was an old TV from
Mhm.
like
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
2015.
if you looked at the stuff that me and Chris saw when we were at InfoComm, you
I-
would look at what's coming out right now and go, "That none of this is shit. Like
Mhm.
none of it is anything."
I've been trying to get Nick to come to InfoComm with me for the past 2 times that
Yeah,
we've
I
got to
remember.
InfoComm, and I'm like, Nick, you will love it. You're gonna freak the hell out when you finally
I
come.
think we're
one,
gonna
dude.
go this year. We'll take a GoPro and we'll take you guys around.
Yeah,
if it's
I don't think
whenever it starts again.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit before InfoComm comes back, but when it does, that'd be
So-
nice.
That's my review at the that is my very limited review.
Hey,
Let's-
it worked.
how do you say
It worked.
review
That video
of
carried
iPad
that.
Pro second generation?
Hmm. Well,
All right, really like that.
hold on. I'm sorry. What was the price, Mike?
I was gonna ask the same
Oh,
thing.
you want to know price?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, if
we're-
I'm interested in getting this iPad, how much are we going in on this?
$700, right?
Wow, it's got to
look,
be more than that.
Pro, it is starting at starting at $949 for the model I got. Starts at $949 for a 128. I got a 256 gig model, so I think it was like $11.99,
Wow.
and I'll have it paid off in about a year and a half.
That's not too bad. So
Mhm.
for an iPad, I mean, of that kind of caliber, I'm very excited to play with the augmented reality. I want to see what kind of shit they have available for it.
You know what, more so, Apple is really trying to make this a laptop replacement, and the addition of the mouse feature in iOS 14, which is a whole nother subject, is huge. The addition of a chip that is as powerful as a laptop is huge. Really adds a lot. There's a lot you can do with extended USB-C adapters with these devices now. It's Apple is really trying to make this a laptop replacement, and if the mouse is almost there. It's almost there. There's some things that it's weird because it likes to grab onto things, like as opposed to clicking on something, it almost like grabs onto in a whole image that you're mousing. It's weird.
So if we
But-
don't use the mouse pad, can I plug in a mouse onto the USB port?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's
And a
and
keyboard.
have you tried that to see if it still does the same issues or if that's more a mouse pad problem?
Before I had this Logitech keyboard and mouse case, which is awesome, by the way. Logitech, you did a great job on that. I've used a mouse with it before, so it's the same. It's just the way that they set up the mouse to function. But
Okay.
it is so far it's a fantastic device. Speakers are twice as loud as the last ones, which is insane because the last ones were very loud, and the screen is definitely brighter. It's an incredible screen.
Okay, man. I like that.
Worthy upgrade.
If you have unless you're looking for the camera, I think the camera is the largest upgrade to this device. So if you use this device a lot and you really want the camera portion of it, I think that's a big reason. I think the move up to 1 terabyte of storage on it is humongous. So
Agreed.
I think I don't know that you have to upgrade from the first generation. And actually, I'm surprised the first gen actually had 1 terabyte available as well. I didn't know that when I bought it, but
What
I don't know. I don't know why somebody. I don't know that I could say somebody needs to upgrade from the first generation to the second generation. And looking at it too. Whoops. Looking at it too. Can't even notice. Looking at it too. they don't look much different at all. I mean, they look the exact same. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference if I handed them both to you unless you looked at the camera.
That's pretty good. It's that liquid retina display, like you said, that's really important. I hope everybody digested that because I certainly did. I got what I needed to out of that, and moving on to the next set of information. What's new on demand on TV? New movies on Netflix. This is a little segment that we have where we talk about things that we've either been watching on Netflix or things we're excited about on Netflix. For some reason, somebody in my squad is rather excited about the Queen's Gambit.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I will tell you what. I don't think that you sleep on that because Brittany and I started watching that a couple of days ago, and we have one episode left. It is, and Chris, especially for somebody like you who loves chess, you're crazy. It is amazing. The acting is superb. The story is incredible, and her moving from this orphan up to this higher than grandmaster chess genius is absolutely incredible.
And this is a true story.
Incredible. Yes, it is. It's incredible. Anya Taylor-Joy's portrayal of Beth Harmon is masterful.
Okay. I'll start it tonight.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. I promise. Get past the only thing I didn't really, because I really want to watch her play chess throughout the entire thing. The first episode is story. It explains her background, and then in the next episode you finally get to all the chess stuff that's throughout the whole thing.
That's exciting. I'm gonna check that out because I love chess and I love a good true a little like bio series like that. I enjoy stuff like that. So.
I'm telling you, don't sleep on it. It's really, really, really good. And I'll tell you what, when I'm looking at it here on IMDb, they give it an 8.9 out of all the user ratings. So that
says something. I'll take that. That's not bad.
Chris, you watching anything on Netflix right now that you want to honorable mention?
For me,
it's Troll Hunters, baby.
It's what? Troll Hunters?
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Dude,
so
started Wizards right now. Talk about that. Talk about how good it is.
Okay, Troll Hunters was I'm on 3 Below now, and for those of you who don't know, Guillermo del Toro made a masterful epic of 3 different shows: Troll Hunters, 3 Below, and Wizards, that all combined to make this grand epic.
Talking shit about me watching shit about chess.
Yeah, now, Mike, trust me when I tell you this normally would not be my jam, and I fell head over heels in love with Troll Hunters. I don't know why. I love every bit about it. I do know why, because it's a fantastic show that has every element that you could ever want in a show. And I'm on 3 Below now, which is there's nothing to do with the trolls, and now we're talking about an entirely different situation, but within the same universe, in the same area. It has a lot of MCU vibes in how they created this whole guild, and now I'm hoping there's a little bit more combination. What I'm not finding yet is enough of the combination between Troll Hunters and 3 Below, where they had one episode which was great.
Is Toby in it a lot yet, or just a little?
Just a little. Just like he's been at the burrito stand in a couple of things. Yeah,
he's coming in hot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great show. If you're into stuff like let's call it Lord of the Rings level, Game of Thrones level, thought process and storytelling and plot progression. Troll Hunters is something that will sneak up and smack you in the face. If you think this is a children's show, you're wildly mistaken. It is not. It is, but it is also, it has so much more to offer than that. Guillermo del Toro's, in my opinion, almost masterpiece. There's a couple of things in 3 Below that I feel he went a little bit.
I think you have to finish the season.
It's got more adult undertones to it, right?
It's got a ton of adult overtones. I mean, undertones, and I think that with Troll Hunters especially, the dynamics in Troll Hunters blew me away, and that's what and again, I'm not done with 3 Below. I'm halfway through season 1. I barely scratched the surface. There aren't as many dynamic things going on culture-wise. Within Troll Hunters, you have all these master races that have their own storylines and all these different characters that all work together and interweave with each other. 3 Below's not doing that for me yet.
I think he's going to be eating these words pretty soon.
I hope
you are. I know that a good friend of ours also started it. on our recommendation, and he mentioned that he was on the same episode that you mentioned to me today. And I'm like, how far in is that? Like 3 episodes in or something? And it must be. You know what I mean? You're not.
It's not. It's about 7. It's about 7 into 3 below. And again, I agree. I'm not there enough to comment. I'm just saying that
my only input to compliment what you said is that my biggest gripe is that. My biggest thing I took away from it is that 3 Below feels like one of the really good storylines from Troll Hunters, where Troll Hunters has like 8 or 9 all working together. If they took one out and was like, here, this really focus on this because it's really interesting and it's good. And I think like Vavatos Vex is like that's Ron Swanson, you know, who does
the
his
best.
voice.
The best.
Amazing to hear him. A guy who we've seen our whole life, or what is his name, Nick Offerman, a guy we've seen our whole lives be very straight up and very.
Hold on, that's actually Nick Offerman.
Vatos Vex, baby, yeah. Now
fuck out of here, dude! Oh my god, I love him, and I did not know that was Nick Offerman. That's amazing to hear.
Now the show all of a sudden is right up here, right?
It's great. It is a great show. I'm saying that it doesn't have.
I think you have to reserve judgment because
I am.
Season, because you really shouldn't look at them like seasons. They just are just like parts.
Right.
And like,
it's an
second
epic.
part is where they like you've met General Hondos, right, or whatever his name is, the main guy.
The main bad guy. Yeah.
He gets so deep and he gets so. What do you not think about the bounty hunters? Are they not the coolest bounty hunters you've ever seen?
They
the
did a
one
great job.
guy who's like got the orange drills on his hand, and then she's got her blue swords, and the other one's like electric with his freaking electric mouth. Bro, they were the best bounty hunters. They topped Mando as far as bounty hunters are concerned. Like when those 3 dropped down, and he was like talking with this cool voice, but I'm a bounty hunter, and I was like, this is very cool.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing at all. I'm just saying that compared to Troll Hunters, I'm not seeing that.
Why Vafatos Vex is.
They've teased on it. They've teased on the fact that he is who he is. But
when you get revealed, some of the reveals, you'll be like, "Oh, this is deep."
Okay, I feel you. I'll wait. We'll reserve judgment. Watch the fucking show if you haven't. Whoever's watching.
It ends with Wizards and then a whole new movie next year. Go.
I'll tell you what I watched through and finished completely is Utopia by myself.
What'd you think? Because I loved the hell out of it.
You know what? There were a couple of episodes in the middle that kind of
course,
dragged a little bit, but by the end of the show, I was like, okay.
What did you think? What do you think? I mean, I don't want to do spoilers. I hate doing spoilers, right?
How can it be? It came out. What did it come out?
Yeah, but still, at the end, all right. So, no, it's not just you, but like,
spoiler alert.
I also heard this show that you keep bragging about called The 100 is insane. Like it just ended, and apparently
The 100, bro.
Nick, it's the best show. It's the best show you'll ever watch. If you're gonna,
I saw on Facebook.
Don't watch Peaky Blinders. Don't watch Game of Thrones. Watch The 100, and I'll get crucified for saying this because.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Chris always tells me that they do get a lot of credit, but I think CW doesn't get enough credit for the good content that they put out. They always do. It's a lot of it's very teenage, but they know what they know what their audience is, and they do it very well.
Stop what you're doing today and go watch The 100 because it ended as good as it started. I was like, what?
Nick, so I don't like that statement because it started like shit in my opinion. The first 3 episodes almost caused me to stop watching on the spot, and then it turned. They
weren't acted very well.
They weren't acted. It was like a teeny bopper love story stuff going on. I'm like, this ain't for me.
I was like,
and then it like went.
And then it was like, what the fuck are we watching right now? What is this show? And it exploded into this epic that was just like. Wow.
What were you going to ask me about Utopia?
How long are the episodes? Yeah, sorry.
Probably 40 minutes episodes.
Yeah, they're 40 minutes.
Yeah, but what did you think about how the whole first season ended? How it ended with a little bit of a humanitarian twist to it?
Where, well, you mean like
you could relate to what he wants?
Well, yeah, it's what's the word I'm looking for?
there's a bit of a, like, you
There's
expect,
a word I'm looking for that I can't think of right now.
like,
But it is
relatable. Like, you can take the antagonist and be like, oh,
well,
like, I
yeah.
feel
You
him a
look at the
little
bad
bit.
guy and
Right?
you're like, oh, you know what?
And they even touched on that with Wilson and his how he evolved into almost siding with him, and it was just like, that is spoiler alert, but like it is really I
Dude,
thought it was great.
John Cusack's whole part in that last episode was
Yeah, when he's all duct taped up and the way he's like giving those
He's like,
monologues.
yeah, amazing,
Fantastic.
Kill me now. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's done. I got this done in the bag. And I'm not trying to kill people. He ain't trying to kill everybody. He's just
That's
trying
not
to
my point. My point is to fix the world.
fix the world in a way that was like, oh, wait a minute.
And
Why are we
the
trying to
moral
stop this
dilemma
dude?
is there anything you can think of that wouldn't be a little bit unethical to do that?
Right. Is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And like, what he's doing really that bad? And yes, the means didn't justify the ends, in my opinion, right? Ethically speaking, he killed a lot of people to get to the end.
Well,
The end didn't kill a lot.
what would you be willing to give up to save everyone?
Right. If the
Not
conversation,
now,
Right.
but 10 years from now.
yeah, if the conversation was, if we continue on this path, all my loved ones are gonna die, right? What do we need to do to make it so that may not be so?
Well, and that's why the
You know?
dude buddy with the eye patch.
Right. Agree with him, and was like, wait a minute, fuck. I
Not
much
wrong.
as much
Like
as
even my family, but
Right.
you know, I mean,
right, like he killed his entire family, right, by doing this. Yet still was like, I get why you did that, you know, and it was more like that was a necessary sacrifice to make the greater call.
that show turned from what I thought was going to just be like some comic book type
Right.
to
An ethical and moral conundrum that really spoke to your inner, I don't know, just who you are as a person. You have to know where you stand on this topic, and I'm excited as hell to see where they go with season 2 if they get renewed, because I don't hear enough conversation about Utopia. I barely
No.
heard about it at all if it wasn't for my dad watching it.
Rainn Wilson has range, and I wasn't sure whether he did or not.
Agree 100%. That man, I wasn't expecting that kind of character out of him. When I saw the preview, I was expecting something like Deadpool, right? And what's his name? T.J. Miller in Deadpool. I was expecting something like that out of Rainn Wilson, and what he actually delivered in that series blew me away.
Fantastic.
Blew me away.
Fantastic.
I applaud the hell out of his acting chops.
So
man.
many good scenes, dude. Like when they go and they kill all the bunnies. They
Yeah.
walk.
So there's a lot of cinematic gutso in that show that
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to get. Something like one thing I gotta say that I disagree with.
Choose the spoon.
So huge spoiler. If y'all are gonna watch the show, plug your ears for the next 20 seconds. The blonde girl, okay, who had black hair
In the beginning.
when she took the bullet.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have happened, right? And I was pissed watching that show because
I was pretty mad that they but it showed you that it started you on the path of nobody is worth the end of this.
agree. However, we're watching a
Looking
television
back at it
show,
now.
and what she could have brought to the table, dynamic wise, to that show was
Because of her brain.
because of her brain and what she was about, what they built her up to be. Like, okay, if you're gonna kill someone, it didn't have to be someone that could have brought so much to the
Yeah,
table moving forward.
Yeah, but you don't all the genius people were already involved in this whole thing.
Yeah,
I mean not their portion of it, but what did you need a genius for? You didn't really.
Didn't. I mean, where they took it.
The whole point looking at it now that you've
Right.
seen the whole thing,
Right.
that it doesn't matter. No one, your family, my
Right.
family, the president, nobody is fucking worth
Right.
the ends.
Right.
You know,
That's the
you're
most
means.
important point.
That's all you are. You're just the means to an end.
That's the most important point, that we have to get to the point where we can get this done. And that's what I loved about the show. It's a literal ethical dilemma. Like in ethics in college, it's one of those ethical conundrums they bring up, brought to life via a television series. And I thought that was just a kick-ass surprise that I wasn't expecting at all. And I'm concerned because, again, I don't hear it enough through the channels and people talking about shows. I never hear it come up. And my dad brought it up. I'd never even heard of it before. I was like, he was raving about it. I was like, okay, I'll check this show out. And Utopia on Amazon Prime, if y'all are watching and want to check out something cool, watch that show. It's worth it. But before you watch that, watch the 100 because that's even better.
And before you watch that, watch our previous episode.
Yeah.
Me on that spoiler-free 7-minute outing. I hope you guys had your headphones down and it's now safe to come on back.
We were pretty safe with the spoilers. We had one 20-second
I'm not
major.
sure. There was a part in there where I was trying to read something on my phone. I'm hearing like they shouldn't have killed off such a pro.
Well, that was the 20-second spoiler. I said, this is a big spoiler. Put your headsets down if you don't want to hear this shit.
Rough. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it, I think.
Watch it.
That's going to do it for the shows. I hope you guys like the new look that we got going on tonight. And basically, yeah, that was it for the show. Episode 11 in the books. You can catch us here almost every Wednesday. Today's obviously Friday, but we had some scheduling issues, but we're here. So catch the show on YouTube, High Input Games /YouTube. You can catch it banked there with all the rest of those premium early episodes. Get them while you can, while they're still there, before they get put on DVD to our exclusive Patreon subscribers. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, come on back next Wednesday where you can get all your gaming news right here. High Input Live, High Input Games. Come check us out. See you guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.